I want to go back into the theater with a bunch of strangers and leave with something in common. That's what I want to do.
Reverend once told me, "When things are too dangerous to say, sing."
Baz stages these concerts with full-on audiences and screaming fans, and I want to know how that kind of impacted your performance to have a crowd in front of you.
Well, so for one, I was really nervous about that because I'd never performed in front of a crowd before. I never sang in front of anybody except my very close friends before. And in a moment of panic, I called Rami Malek and I was like, how did it feel? What did you go through and all those things? And he said, I really, those days you end up feeling the energy of the audience and it becomes this thing that those will probably end up becoming your favorite days on set. And it was so true. And also the way that, like you were saying, the way that Baz did it. Very early on, we kind of set out to not have these moments where it's shifting between here I am, Austin, and then there's Elvis. So anytime, even when he gave me direction, it was all kind of within the context of what the concert that we were doing or whatever. So
because they are all different.
Yeah. And so like in Vegas, the way we do it is this curtain comes up, I come out, we do the entire concert, curtain comes down. So the audience every time is getting the feeling of being at a concert.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, so we weren't breaking it up. And so it meant that they had the experience of not seeing any illusion broken.
Oh my God, that's incredible. You actually gave them a concert every single time.
And we did that in Rustwood as well. And so there's always the moment of, Baz calls them supporting artists, all the people in the audience, they're just I was so impressed with them. There was girls in the audience with tears in their eyes and just the emotion that they had felt so truthful.
Right.
So when I look in their eyes and I'm seeing real emotion, seeing a girl blush and a girl with tears in her eyes, it transcends what you imagine that moment will be.
One of the things I found so fascinating about the film is all the times that Elvis was asked to compromise his vision, essentially, and to tune down the show to help the business side of it. And I'm just curious how often you and your collaborators have run into that.
No, never. Well, mostly it's kind of like, can it have a happy ending? Can you be a little more nice? Why are you so cranky in this movie? It comes around like that, but I've been for a long time in a pretty lucky position in which I get to weigh you eventually have this vote, yes or no. And if you say yes, there you go. And it's really hard to say no sometimes because the people are great, you get, who knows, you get to go to Graceland or something like that. But unless you have an understanding of there is a theme you're going to examine in a very specific way. If they're not going to let you do that, then you have to say no or fight tooth and nail in order to get what you want. And I've done that a couple of times.
I think the financiers have given up on that one with me. They've given up on it. Like a lot of people have given up on that with me. I mean, it's not, listen, Sean, I'm not arrogant about it. Like I genuinely, I decide to make things, I hope, that have relevance now, but also will be relevant in the future. And honestly, I just see it as my duty to do the work. I came here to start research 5 years ago, here at Graceland. And I wouldn't have believed that 5 years later, I'd be sitting here and being asked to have a barbecue in Graceland and invited in by the family, like as if I was in someone's home. You're right about what you're getting at. Like, the show isn't a biopic. It's really about the cell and the soul, And Parker is this gigantuan Mr. Like, he's a clown with a chainsaw. I mean, we've seen characters like that recently. Say anything, do anything. And he argues in the movie, listen, I didn't kill Elvis. You know what? I just did my job. It's not in this movie. I didn't put this bit in. But when Elvis dies and the Colonel gets the phone call, the first thing he does is pick the phone straight up and ring RCA and say, print more records. Now we all go, yeah, what a cold human being.
Yeah.
Actually, probably yes. But he would go, yeah, but you wanted the records. Like, I just did my job.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, of course will. I'm not here to tell you the Colonel's right or wrong. I'm here to engage everybody out there in an audience and have them come into a dark room, all as strangers, watch a story and feel something afterwards and have a discussion and a drink and a dance and whatever, right.
Are you born with destiny? Or does it just come?
I want to know if you think talent is timeless. And by that, I mean, if Elvis were born in 2007, do you think he still would have figured out a way to break into the entertainment industry?
Yeah, do you know what? It's really dependent on whoever's cognitive bias. Let's go to like the executives at the industries that we deal in. You know, like when I was growing up, I was told that no one wanted to hear a black woman sing rock and roll. And they were like a head of A&R of a record company. And so then I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know, I know a certain amount about music and I grew up with Sister Rosetta. How don't you know who invented rock and roll? And so then it becomes this thing like that, I suppose, guides who gets signed and who doesn't.
Right.
And so maybe Elvis still gets signed because he's white. And that's really like where we are still, jousting with this thing of like, you know, are you plus and dark skin?
Right. Oh,
you know?
Man, uphill battle.
Hey, well, you know, I'm doing all right. I got 6 Grammy nominations. I ain't gonna cry, but like, but don't cry for me, Argentina. All right, mate. But like, it's like the idea of like seeing a gazillion me's versus just me, like, or me and some other people, like, you know, like that's really so. Like, I wonder, like, how many of the legends of our, you know, our ancestors come up and get that. I think maybe Elvis still does. Yeah. You know? I don't know.
He would have been totally different.
I think there's way too many artists to be able to sing. It's just like I don't really necessarily, I don't really know if there's room for like big like icons like Elvis, Michael, Prince anymore.
Yeah.
Just like I don't really think there's gonna be like big movie stars like that anymore. You know what I mean? Tom Hanks is a rare thing.
True, very true.
Austin might break it through, though. I'll tell you that much. He's giving us a run for his money.
He's got the magnetism
That's real.
to make it happen. Yeah. If Elvis were born in 2007, would he have still figured out a way to break into
Yes,
the
I
show
think
business?
absolutely he would have, because it's a transcendent moment. And I think you can look at any number of artists right now who have that one thing in common that Elvis had, is that they go some other place when they start performing. You know, and I think there was certainly times later on where maybe Elvis didn't care too much. And maybe when he was, you know, recording the 17th set up on Bossa Nova Baby and, you know, in front of Acapulco, maybe he wasn't putting everything into it. There is an aspect of, you know, time and place that is undeniable. But if we had never seen Elvis Presley and never seen that representation of a guy interpreting rhythm and blues or rock and roll with this kind of like physical abandon, much less the quality of and voice of the timbre, I think everybody would just say, who's that guy? And he would be the same sort of forbidden fruit.
Yeah, I mean, talent and circumstance. I mean, the reason that I asked certain artists to tribute during the credits, and I hope the audience watched the credits, like when Eminem made the song The King and I, that's Eminem going, I relate to Elvis's journey. I had a similar journey. The circumstances of Elvis growing up, dad going to jail, the shame, ending up in the black community, you know, Beale Street, friends breaking segregation laws, all that journey, all that. Yes, there's always going to be some child with some broken heart seeking to have unrequited love, unconditional love, and do something, whether it's a funny joke, they're funny, or they can dance, or they sing, whatever they do, and love comes across the footlights, and they grow and they get better and better and better. But it comes back to your first question. Eventually, someone's gonna start giving them money for that. And then someone's gonna give them more money for that. But then someone's gonna be going like, but if you do this, you'll get more money, and da-da-da-da-da. And they're just a human being. And it's gonna tear them apart. That story is gonna happen again. But the profound uniqueness of Elvis's life, a 42-year life that seems like it was 100 years.
I do think talent is timeless. In the way that Van Gogh didn't really sell a painting until after his death, you know, it's all within the context of how people are perceiving things as well.
Right.
I know that he hit at a particular point.
Sure.
So him changing the atmosphere in the 50s, that was something that nobody had experienced before.
Right.
But I do think that music is timeless,
right.
and you could walk through a museum and see a painting, and it may impact one person, another person may just walk right by.
Right.
And when I think right now we're in a period where people may be overwhelmed by the amount that's out there, and also the shock value of a lot of stuff out there. So Elvis, what he was doing in the 50s wouldn't be shocking today.
Right.
You know, so there's that as well. That's a really interesting question.
I like to say that movies don't change at all, but we change, you know? So something that you see
That's
10
really
years from
so
now.
true.
Yeah, it's the same movie,
Same movie.
but we're a different person sitting in
You've
front of it.
experienced different things in your life, and it's hitting you in new ways.
My story, I'll wrap on this, is I saw Finding Nemo when it was in theaters.
Yeah.
And then when it came to home video, in that time, I'd found out I was going to be a father for the first time. And it was a totally different movie.
Oh my God,
It was
man.
completely different. So art changes. You like that.
That really is beautiful.
Senator Kennedy has been shot.
Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis.
There are moments in the film when the act of entertaining gets disrupted by real life, you know, assassinations and tragedies that happen. And in the moment in the film, it almost suggests that like art is frivolous, like this Christmas special that Elvis is working on doesn't amount to what's going on. But you don't think art is frivolous, do you?
Well, I wrote a song called Diamond Studded Shoes, and it's about the previous Prime Minister of the UK, Theresa May, and how she was delivering a little story about swiping meals out of the hands of babes whilst wearing diamonds in her heels, which, you know, it's a bit rich, to be honest. And so I've always kind of put the two together. It's like a call to arms for everyone else on Earth, all the other humans to go, you know, stop riding us all the way to the bank, please. You know, like I've always had that element of like trying to have a higher purpose to what I'm doing, be it in galvanizing of people, of working classes, of like people from like a rainbow coalition of people. That's definitely what my crowd looks like.
Right.
My fans look like every part of Earth.
Amen.
It's cool. It's so cool. But yeah, and so like a film, and I think I just watched like Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, yeah.
And that whole kind of idea of just like bringing everyone together is like a really great thing. It's a really great mission and purpose. And I think every revolution has a soundtrack.
Well, I think that art has to take into account some aspect of the zeitgeist that's going on. Sometimes the taking into the zeitgeist, that means let's do something so totally different that this has truly, and everybody knows this has no connection to what's really going on. Much like the carnival on the edge of town. You know, the lights are on, the Ferris wheel is set up, let's go see the elephant, and let's have a great night for a night or two, and then we'll come back and deal with all the problems in town. You know, the plumbing doesn't work, and we don't have a good bus, we don't have a good bus system. But the other time I think is you have to, and I think Baz did a great job on this, is understanding the racial divide that was extremely cultural in between when Elvis first fell in love with music and by the time he's got the Sweet Inspirations up on stage with him in Las Vegas. There is something there that you had to pay some attention to. Otherwise, I think you lack a brand of authenticity that I think is the whole point of being in cinema in the first place.
People do what's inspiring them. Otherwise, you know, I hope they aren't doing it. And I think it comes down to the individual. If they don't find that there's some purpose in it, then there probably is none. If someone's forcing them to do something, and that's a different story, you know?
Yeah,
and I think
sure.
a Christmas special, if someone's trying to make money off and you don't want to do it, then probably not best.
Not the best idea.
Yeah.
It seemed, watching the movie, that Elvis was photographed constantly and that there was a lot of footage for Austin to look at and maybe get some ideas, but I wasn't quite sure with B.B. King how much was even around available for you to take a look at, archival footage. Was there any available, and even like any specific thing that you looked at?
It was limited because I think that it was more so focused in the 70s, 80s, and further down. I'm playing B.B. King in the 60s, so I didn't get to see anything except pictures. But when you think about it, people don't really actually act that different. So all I had to do was just take some of the through lines, and I found this really fascinating guitar tutorial that he did, where he kind of broke down how he improvises. And I always find that musicians tend to talk like they play. And so I kind of got a lot of inspiration for, speech pattern and where he found something more tender, or, it kind of slows it down. Because in a song you can listen to it, but there's something about the way he explains it. He gets really excited about a certain note or a certain bend. I don't know. And I was like, oh, this is where the pocket sits in certain conversations. So yeah.
Does that pocket exist with acting too?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think, well, I don't know. It's interesting. There's a musicality to it. And I tend to, like, I'll pull from anyone. Like, say I met you and I was like, man, I really like, you know, I like the way he talked and I like the way he, you know, nodded and the way he looks when he's listening. I was like, I'm gonna take that and then I'll put it in a movie and apply it to a different character.
Okay.
You're like, uh-oh.
I want credit. I want residuals.
Got a good lawyer?
Yeah, no,
or is
I
the
do
colonel
not.
got your back?
Yeah, God,
I
that's
hope
so
I
true.
wish you well.
That's so true. How much Little Richie was available, and what did you? Is there a piece of it that you saw that really said, like, oh, now I kind of figured out who he is?
I dove in really deep and dived into all of his interviews, his performances, and even his rehearsals. And there was one screening rehearsal that really resonated to me deeply because it's just him in the theater and there's no audience, there's no band, it's just him and the piano. And you hear the rasp in his voice, which training came from him playing the saxophone as well. And you just hear his joy because it was a young Little Richard at like the age of like 20, 21. And in the film, I play a young 22-year-old Little Richard at Club Handy. So that resonated with me and aligned with me in a different way, helped me develop the intention and the sense of direction for the show.
I've never been to Cannes either, so you and I got that in common.
Oh man, that's a good start.
Yeah.
You're dressed for the humidity of this
I'm from
godforsaken.
North Carolina.
Oh, so you know what this is
better,
like.
yes.
I didn't feel it until I came back east for the first time when I was 20.
Okay.
And then I felt humidity for the first time. I thought, well, you know, no wonder the pioneers kept moving because they didn't want to put up. It's sticky and there's bugs everywhere. I get it. It's brutal.
Yeah. Have you tried a peanut butter and banana sandwich?
Dad, yes.
You did?
Yes.
How is it?
It's fantastic.
Is it really?
Have you not?
No, I just got here this morning, so I'm gonna get one tonight at the hotel.
Oh yes,
I'm really looking
absolutely.
forward to. Change your life.
Here I am, smiling.
It's gonna be strange to be in theaters opposite a Buzz Lightyear film.
How about that? Why it's not? I wanted to go head to head with Tim Allen, and they didn't let Tim Allen do it. I don't understand that.
It's Chris Evans' kid.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing: is just as long as people come back to the motion picture theater, don't you? I want to go back into the theater with a bunch of strangers and leave with something in common. That's what I want to do. And going to see a movie with them, I'm looking forward to that.